Welcome class to Math 2020, section 2.2 on triangles. So this is when we're going to start doing some investigations for more properties about geometry, and we'll start with triangles. Here I've kind of started filling out a notebook paper on some notes for triangles. And our first question is, what is a triangle? Now, with these definitions of basic concepts in geometry, it's good to have a way to explain them in your mind, or the way to learn, without using the word itself. So describing what a triangle is without using the word triangle is pretty tricky. We have two definitions that the book gives in this reading, section 2.2. And the first is a figure enclosed by three straight segments. And so the book discusses that it is a kind of a more elementary definition, and you can use that definition or a more informal way to describe what a triangle is. If you need to communicate to very young audiences, or if you want to communicate that in a quick way. If you want to be more technical, or if for older audiences, you can use the second definition the book gives. And these definitions are with the idea that we are talking about two-dimensional shapes. Okay? So we can put in a 2D figure, a 2D geometric figure consisting of three non-collinear points and the line segments that join them. Okay? The points are called vertices and the segments are called sides. The book then gives a picture of an example of a triangle with parts labeled. We have an angle right here. So all the triangles have angles. All of them have three sides, and they all have three vertices, or here's one vertex. Recall that the word vertex is for singular, one vertex, and then vertices is for more than one. Okay, so there's three vertices there. So those are the parts of a triangle and an introduction. I encourage you to perhaps go online and look up more definitions of a triangle and see how they compare to what our book says. Moving on, I'll zoom out here. We're going to discover some more properties about the angles in a triangle. We'll look at side lengths later on in the course, but right now we're just going to focus on angles and how much they are. Last section, 2.1, we introduced 4 properties to use as tools for deductive reasoning. Again, as a reminder, those are angles at a point, which means that all the angles that are around a point add to 360 degrees. The second one is angles on a line, so all the angles that are in the line add to 180 degrees. And then angles in a right angle is the third one, which means that any angles that are inside a right angle add up to 90 degrees. And the fourth one was vertical angles. Vertical angles are on opposite sides of two intersecting lines, and they are equal. We're going to add to our list of tools today by discovering 3 new properties. And they all have to do with triangles and angles in a triangle. First, there's a fun property that talks about all 3 angles of a triangle, and they actually sum to a certain number. And so in order to discover what this is, we're going to go ahead and take a piece of paper. Okay, so zoom out there. And we'll put this one on the side here for now. We're going to take this piece of paper. Okay. We have a blank sheet of printer paper, or you can use another piece of your notebook paper. And in order to discover what this property is, this first one, we're going to need to cut out a triangle. Okay. So I'm going to draw a generic triangle, and I will label each of the angles, and then cut out the triangle. And to help you discover what this property is, draw a different shaped triangle than I have. Okay, so here I'm going to use my ruler to So draw just a regular triangle. So the vertices here I'm going to draw as well, and then I just do one like this and connect it back to here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and label my angles A, B, C. So this is angle A, angle B, and angle C. Notice that I'm using lowercase letters for angles. What we're going to do is I'm going to cut it out. And we'll investigate angles A, B, and C more closely. We want to kind of make an observation of what they will equal. Okay, how can we see what they equal? Okay, so I've cut out my triangle. And I'm going to use it for on my notebook paper here. Okay, so my new property has to deal with these angles here. To have my triangle here, I'm going to cut off the angles. Well, actually, I want to trace this triangle first. I'm going to trace my triangle on this property here. So trace it so I can have a copy of it, so I can know what happened to it. So I want to track what happened to it by cutting off the triangles, the angles in the triangle. Okay, so here's my copy. Angle A, B, and C. So it's the exact copy there. So we have tracing of our triangle. So I'll zoom in here. And as I said before, we're going to go ahead and cut off the angles of this triangle. So cutting it off, cut off angle C here, cutting off angle A, and angle B is now by itself, which is our goal, is to get all of the triangles by themselves, the angles by themselves, sorry, in the triangle. Okay, so this is angle B. I'm going to connect them here together to see how much they equal here when you put them all together. Okay, notice that angle A and C, A, B, and C are now in this form. Okay. So when you do this with yours, go ahead and pause the video and do this with yours and see what you come up with. And then think about a way to explain what you found out, what you've discovered. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video and do this with your triangle. Okay, now that we're back, we're going to go ahead and tape down our triangle. Just a piece of tape here. Tape it onto our notebook paper. And let's take a look at what we got here. All three of the angles seem to match up very nicely with my notebook paper line. Okay. And so from a property that we discovered last time, oops, I missed that one. From a property we discovered last time, we know that all the angles that are on a line, that form a line here, and we'll pretend that, let me fix this one too a little bit, add up to 180. The angle sum is 180. Okay, so there we go. Put another piece in there for good measure. And notice that that's what happens to all the angles in my triangle. And you should be amazed to find out that that will also happen to yours. Okay, so each of the properties, just like in last class, they have a property attribute, a name, and they also have a use, abbreviation, and a use and an abbreviation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down what this property's name and use and abbreviation. Okay. So this property right here says that in any triangle, the sum of the measures of the interior angles is 180 degrees. The sum of the measures of the interior angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Okay. Now it's important to notice that these are interior angles. They're the angles that are inside the figure. A, B, C are inside. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, that's our property. The use, when we need to use it in a homework problem or any deductive line of reasoning, since there are only three, we say A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees. Okay? So those three angles equal 180, whatever they are, XYZ or PQR. All three angles in a triangle will always equal 180 degrees when they're added together. Okay? And then the abbreviation we use is angle sum of triangle. Okay? Now, the angle here is referring to the sum. So that means the sum is a singular noun. So we don't put angles sum, we don't put an S here, we just put angle sum of triangle. Okay? So you need to make sure you have all of that together. And we always write those in parentheses after our use, after our statement. Okay? So there's a new property. Okay? We can call this like property 5, if you will. Okay, because we learned 4 in the other one. Okay, let's go and get a new notebook paper. Let's do another property. We can call it property 6. Okay, and for this property, we're going to go back to our paper here that has a triangle cut out of it, and we're going to go and we're going to cut another triangle out. That is a right triangle. I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can see that. Put you up here to the side, and we'll take this here. We'll draw a right triangle. It's okay if it's not precisely right. And I'm going to draw it at the right angle here, using my side of my paper to help me. It can be any size. And I'm going to stop my triangle right here. So it's different size lengths. Okay. It's a right triangle, so I'm going to draw a box. Okay. I'm going to label this angle A and this angle B. Okay. I'll go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so here's my right triangle. And I'm going to go ahead and trace it, so I have a little starting point here. Trace it on this paper here. And see what happens to it to discover this next property. Okay, so this is my right angle. This is A and this is B. Now with this one I'm going to discover what the angles A and B add up to. In order to do this, I'm going to go ahead and fold A down to keeping this edge in line and straight, down to the right angle, and folding over B also over to the right angle. Okay, keeping this line straight. Okay, and notice that the sum of angles A and B match up exactly with that 90 degrees. Okay, this is a property about angle sum of right triangle. Okay, so I'm going to take this one down. First I'm going to write A and B on here. So this is my new A, new B, A and B. And then I'm going to kind of just tape it under here. Okay. A and B. So it can be in my notebook and I can know how that always worked. Okay. So the property has a name. When one angle of the triangle is a right angle, the measures of the other two add up to 90 degrees. So when one angle, that's this one right here, in a triangle is right, or 90 degrees, the measures of the other two add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so these are the other two angles here, A and B. They will add to 90. So the use, if we're going to use it in our homework problems, some deductive line of reasoning, we're going to have the two angles, A plus B, equals 90. Okay, we know that this is true because if one of these angles is 90 degrees, then the other two have to add up to 90 because we discovered in the earlier property that angle sum of triangle, all of the angles add up to 180. So if one is 90 already, then that means the other two have to add up to 90. Okay. And the abbreviation. This is the angle sum of right triangle, RT period triangle. Okay. Alright, hopefully you guys are doing so good so far. Property number 7 is our last property for this section. And we're going to do something similar to what we did before. And it is similar to the angle sum of triangle one. I'm going to go ahead and draw another triangle and cut it out. So I'll draw any shape here. So we'll scoot this over here. Okay, so here's my paper that I'm, notebook paper or printer paper. Okay, so I drew a segment here. Okay, this is A, this is B, this is C. Go ahead and cut this one out. And while I'm cutting this out, why don't you pause the video and copy down everything that we've done so far for the property number 6. Okay, try it out with your own right triangle. Okay, so here is my new triangle for the last property. going to cut off. I'm going to trace first. Trace this triangle here. Okay. And this is going to be angle A, and B, C. Okay, so now we can see that better. And I'm going to cut off these angles here, just A and B is all. The number C I want to keep in kind of the triangle form. Here. I'm going to tape A and B down right next to C. And as you know, that A and B and C together will add up to 180. But there's going to be another viewpoint that we're going to use. So put A and B there. Okay. So those are taped down. And the viewpoint that we'll use has to do with the exterior angle. Okay. Now, interior angles are these ones like A, B, and 90. They're inside the triangle. A, B, C here are interior angles. They're inside the triangle. But you can also draw an exterior angle if you extend the base. Okay. So in this triangle here, C is this angle here, so angle C. I'm going to highlight that one. That's an interior angle. And this is the base of the triangle, or just any of the sides really. Okay, I'm going to copy this base over here. And this is angle C. The exterior angle, if you extend this out this way, you'll have A and B put together. This is the exterior angle. It has this side extended the base. Okay. Okay, that's the exterior angle. A and B together there. Okay. So what do we notice about A and B and the exterior angle? We can call it angle E because it's exterior. Okay. And so to see this approach, I'm going to go ahead and redraw our triangle. Because we got the pieces there, A and B match up to what the rest of C is. Okay. So I'm going to show you another picture here. Okay, so here's my triangle, miniature version, A, B, C. What I've done is I've extended the base out that way, and this right here is the exterior angle, E. So this is the angle that we're thinking about. Now notice that E is the same as A and B put on top of there. A and B put on top of E. Okay, and so you can go ahead and pause the video, and how about you do a depiction of the exterior angle and cut and paste and tape down angles A and B next to angle C there. Okay, now that we're back and you have this on board, let's write down our property. Okay. The property that we have here is the measure of each exterior angle or how big is each exterior angle is, is this of a triangle is the sum of the measures of the opposite interior angles. Okay. Now this is what we call the dark horse property because it's often overlooked and often forgotten. And you can actually, if you have this angle C right here and you need angle E right next to it, you can easily get it from adding A and B together. Okay. And so if you're stuck in a situation, look for exterior angles. Okay, the use is that A and B and E could be identified in any triangle of any orientation, and A plus B is equal to E. Okay? The exterior angle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles. Then the abbreviation that we use is EXT, angle of triangle. Okay? Exterior angle of triangle. Alright, so this is the lesson for today. And in recap, I'm going to pull this paper over here. Pull this paper down. We've discovered 3 new properties. And they are, first one is the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a triangle add to 180. So all the angles in a triangle add to 180. The next one, the angles in a right triangle, the 2 angles add to 90 degrees. Okay? Not the 90-degree angle one, but these 2 add to 90 degrees. And then we have the exterior angle property, which says that the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles. Okay, so that angle is equal to those 2. This angle right here is equal to these 2. Okay. Alright, so that's that part of the section, and I hope you've enjoyed.